Hi, good morning, everyone. This is the Committee on Corrections, Military, and Veterans. This is, it's Wednesday, February 9th, 2022. It's 10 a.m. We are in conference room 430 at the Capitol and also via video conference across the world. Before we start, we have a couple announcements. Vice Chair, can you make some announcements for those folks who are participating?
Aloha and good morning all. Because morning hearings must adjourn prior to the noon floor session, not all testifiers may have the opportunity to testify. In that event, please know that your written testimony will be considered by the committee. Please keep yourself muted and your video off while waiting to testify and after your testimony is complete. The Zoom chat function will allow you to chat with the technical staff only. Please use the chat only for technical issues. If you're disconnected unexpectedly, you may attempt to rejoin the meeting. If disconnected while presenting testimony, you may be allowed to continue if time permits. Please note the House is not responsible for any bad internet connections on the testifier's end. In the event of a network failure, it may be necessary to reschedule the hearing or schedule a meeting for decision making. In that case, an appropriate notice will be posted. Please avoid using any trademarked or copyrighted images. Please refrain from any profanity or uncivil behavior. Such behavior may be grounds for removal from the hearing without the ability to rejoin.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Well done. We have a number of bills to hear today. First up, we have House Bill 2117 relating to the Hawaii Code of Military Justice. And our first testifier is the judiciary. They offered comments. We also have testimony from the State Department of Defense.
Yes, Chair Ono and Vice Chair Gannigan. This is General Kauivi from the Hawaii National Guard. The State Department of Defense does stand on its written testimony as provided, and I'm standing by for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's all the testimony I have on this bill. Is there anyone else here wishing to testify on House Bill 2117? Members, any questions on this 173-page bill, House Bill 2117? Rep. Kobayashi. Rep. Kobayashi.
Hello, General. Do you have any objections to the amendment proposed by Judiciary?
No, we don't. We don't have no opposition to that. In fact, our Judge Advocate General did coordinate with the Judiciary on this small point. So yes, we support that too. Thanks.
Further questions, members? The chair has a question for the general. Thanks again. Good morning.
Morning.
For the court system that's outlined in this bill, is there an existing body, or will the DoD need to set up a separate court system in order to enforce this chapter?
So the way it works is the civilian courts will have primacy over it, but if they refuse it, then the DoD itself, state DoD, will convene one of three court martials. It's going to be a general court martial, a special court martial, or a summary court martial, and it will be internally done within our own ranks.
Okay, so that existing is already in place.
We have the bodies. We just need to convene it. So in other words, once a general officer or the authority can convene the court martial, we'll bring the bodies together and we can execute it.
Okay, thank you very much. Further, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. A follow-up to that question. Will the primacy of the Hawaii State Family Courts remain in place? Oftentimes, servicemen and servicewomen find themselves embroiled in family court issues here, and jurisdiction is retained with the state of Hawaii. That has come before our Supreme Court a few times. Instances of restraining orders, divorces, custody cases that may take years to settle. Can you explain how this might impact the family courts?
Yes, sir, Representative Gannon. There is no impact to the family courts. The family courts will retain all that jurisdiction concerning family matters.
Thank you.
Members, further questions? 2117. Thank you. Moving on. House Bill 2118. First up, we have the Department of Defense. This is cybersecurity 2118. Perhaps Major Ara? Oh,
Good morning. Good morning, Chair Ono, Vice Chair Ganadan, and members of the committee. I'm Brigadier General Neil Matsuyoshi. I'm representing General Hara this morning. He apologizes for not being able to attend in person, and thank you very much for hearing this bill. The Department of Defense stands on its written testimony and support and is available to answer any questions you may have.
thank you very much. That's all the testimony I have for House Bill 2118. Is there anyone else here wishing to testify on this measure? Members, any questions? House Bill 2118. Oh,
I'm sorry, excuse me, Chair Ono. This is Jimmy Collins. I'm the acting administrator of the Hawaii Office of Homeland Security. We also submitted written testimony in support of this measure, and I'm available for any questions you may have for me.
okay, Jimmy, I apologize. Okay, we'll double check to see if we can find that somewhere. Did you want to summarize any more from your testimony?
No, so very similar to the general's testimony.
Okay.
It's a measure that we support for developing a security program. Thank you.
Okay, understood. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else here wishing to testify on House Bill 2118? Members, any questions? Okay. Thank you, members. Up next, we have House Bill 426 tuition waivers. And we have testimony first up from the Attorney General.
Morning, Lori Tanigawa, Deputy Attorney General. The department submitted written comments, but subsequent to submitting those comments, we realized that the bill actually addresses the concern that we raised. So apologies for any inconvenience, but there's no actually further recommended action by the department at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We have testimony from the State DoD, Office of the Veteran Services, in support. The Maui County Veterans Council, support. And we have testimony from a number of individuals. First up, we have Miss Mary Jane P. Bennett. Good morning.
Aloha.
Good morning. We hear you.
How are you? Aloha kako, everyone. I'm not sure how much time I have, but I have something written that I just want to read. I've never done this before, so please excuse me. How much time do I have?
We'll give you 2 minutes, but it's a soft 2 minutes.
Okay. All right. I'll just go. I am Mary Jane Bennett. I live on Maui. I'm a mother of 4 children, married to a Vietnam combat veteran. I requested tuition waivers for children of deceased or 100% service-connected disabled veterans. HB 426 would provide much needed relief to our Hohanas. We were very disappointed to find out too late that the University of Hawaii state system does not provide tuition waivers for our children, especially with the strong presence of the military here in this state of Hawaii. We've been here over almost 18 years. We raised our 4 children here. I just asked why. I asked a few people at the university and the Congress, or you guys, I'm not sure what you are. I asked why doesn't Hawaii follow what the states of California, Washington, and Oregon, and other many states. I just know those 3 offhand. They have this law in place. All the state universities in all these states have given a tuition waiver for many years for children of deceased and 100% service-connected disabled veterans. So, you know, the children of veterans grieve every day. They witness the pain and suffering of their parents. They help care for their disabled parents. I hope you all work together to expedite passing for HB 426. It would be the perfect way to say thank you for your service and honor veterans and their children. It would be a great way to provide reparations to the many Ohanas of deceased or 100% service-connected disabled veterans. We would appreciate, though, adding an amendment, I guess it was called, at this time, since it's taken forever to get through this process and get to this point. I requested this bill almost over 2 years ago. And it's just gotten to this. And I'm like, we've already missed 2 years of maybe possibly getting some kind of tuition waiver. But anyway, please amend it to include tuition waivers at this time. Just amend it, please, for any age and for undergraduates, graduate, doctorate, and PhD degrees, if that is desired by these individuals, these incredibly strong, caring, empathetic, kind, forthright children of deceased or 100% service-connected disabled veterans. They deserve it. And it would be such an incredible honor that you guys do this and follow the states of California, Washington, and Oregon, and all the others that are doing this and showing appreciation, especially in this state. We have so much military here, and I know they are in support, they must be, but not a lot of people know how to do this. I don't even know what I'm doing. I have no clue on how to do this and testify and do bills. And I'm so grateful for the people that have helped me all this way. In your, Tina Wildberger's office and Natalia over there, I swear they helped me so much. Anyway, mahalo no kau kokua. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have testimony from 2 more individuals, both in supports, and we have testimony from the Hawaii Military Affairs Council, also in support. Is there anyone else here wishing to testify on House Bill 426? Okay, members, questions? Thank you. We're moving on to the final bill on our, oh, I'm sorry, Rep. Kobayashi. My apologies, Rep. Kobayashi.
Does the Department of Defense have any comment about how to define financial need? When we have a Hawaii Promise program that uses Pell Grant, federal Pell Grant eligibility as the basis. This one essentially says that financial need is not defined, but could be defined by rules adopted by board regents.
Representative Kobayashi. This is General Mitsuyoshi with the Department of Defense. I think specific to your question, I don't think the department necessarily looked at that closely to defining need, but the eligibility requirement of that 100% disabled or having a deceased service member was really the qualifications that we're looking at, and it would be full tuition waiver for those individuals.
But also it involves any Purple Heart recipient.
Okay. Further questions, members? Okay, moving on. House Bill 2516. First up, we have the Public Safety Department. DSD, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Chair Ono, Vice Chair Ganadin, committee members, Max Otani, Director of the Department of Public Safety. This morning, I would like to provide a summary of our written testimony if possible. The department strongly opposes House Bill 2516, pausing capital improvement projects that are underway will nullify hard-fought efforts to relieve persistent overcrowding with livable conditions and critically needed space for conducting educational, social, substance abuse, and reentry programs for our inmates. Currently, construction is underway at WCCC and HCCC, and construction is scheduled to begin at MCCC in a few months. The department, in partnership with DAGS, has been engaged in the past 6 years to replace the antiquated OCCC. While there is disagreement as to what is to be built, nearly all stakeholders agree that the current facility in Kalihi needs to be replaced. Compliance to procurement procedures have been followed to ensure the process has been transparent. The planning process for this new facility is almost complete, and the next phase will be design. And any halt to the process will likely result in the restart of the program. But even a pause of a year would likely result in reset of the program and likely another decade or more before a new jail could be completed with a much higher construction cost. The department has attempted to work with the Hawaii Correctional Systems Oversight Commission on this project and will continue to do so as we move forward with this project. Thank you for this opportunity to testify and will be available for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. We have testimony from the Hawaii Correctional System Oversight Commission.
Good morning, Chair Ono, Vice Chair Gannigan, members of the committee, Mark Patterson, Chair of the Hawaii Correctional System Oversight Commission. We stand on our testimony at this time, and I'll be here for any questions that you may have for me. Thank you.
Thank you. We have testimony next up from the Office of the Public Defender.
Hi, good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. I am Assistant Public Defender Lee Hayakawa. The Office of the Public Defender supports HB 2516. We will be standing on our written testimony and I will be available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have testimony from the Department of Budget and Finance offering comments and testimony from DAGS.
Yes, good morning, Chair Ono, Vice Chair Ganadin, committee members. My name is Joseph Earing, representing the Department of Accounting and General Services. On behalf of Comptroller Kurt Otoguro, we stand on our written testimony providing comments. I'm available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have further testimony from the Pearl City Neighborhood Board. That's Neighborhood Board number 21 in testimony, testifying in support. From the Native Hawaiian Legal Corporation, also in support. Testimony from the ACLU of Hawaii. Good morning.
Good morning. Aloha, Chair Ono, Vice Chair Ganadin, committee members. Carrie-Ann Shirota on behalf of the ACLU of Hawaii. We support this measure with an amendment requesting and incorporating a 5-year moratorium on jail and prison planning and construction. We're committed to transforming Hawaii's criminal legal system and building a new vision of safety and justice. No one disputes that our jails and prisons are severely overcrowded, yet building new jails and prisons is not the solution to overcrowding in Hawaii. The solution is addressing the primary drivers of incarceration, which is driven by criminal legal policies, not crime rates. Have already fit the bill for jail and prison consultants. Over $14 million to build a jail on Maui that the community opposed, and another $10 million on this proposed new OCCC. that 24 million could have funded diversion programs, treatment, healthcare, reentry in our community that are cost effective in reducing recidivism and enhances community safety. Over the years, this legislative body has convened multiple task forces, and I want to highlight some of them, and initiatives to reform our criminal legal system. Justice Reinvestment, Native Hawaiian Justice Task Force, HCR 85, Criminal Pretrial Task Force, the Hawaii Correctional Oversight Commission, and the Criminal Justice Research Institute. Time and time again, these bodies have come together with a certain level of expertise, come out with recommendations, data-driven, proven, evidence-based practice to reduce our carceral footprint. And time and time again, we thwart those recommendations. We do not follow through. We do not hold the department and all agencies within the criminal legal system responsible for implementing the recommendations. Other states that have invested in data-driven strategies rather than building new jails and prisons have reduced the carceral footprint. And I'd like to highlight some of them. New Jersey, in 11 years, decreased their population over 8,000. New York decreased their population over 18,000 people in 11 years. California reduced its carceral footprint almost 40,000 persons in 6 years. The list goes on from Texas to Rhode Island to South Carolina by investing in decarceration strategies. You as lawmakers, we ask you to be smart justice champions. Invest in what works, changing our pretrial system, eliminating cash bail, investing in alternatives to incarceration for technical violations, diversion, reentry, the list goes on. And so we ask you to take a look at the fiscal costs associated with building new jails and prisons. We currently spend $219 a day to incarcerate an adult, which amounts to almost $80,000 a year. And we spend less than $10,000 to educate our child in our public school system. We need to reevaluate our values and our priorities, and we can start by implementing a moratorium. And instead of paying more consultants who are making money off of taxpayers' backs, invest in what works. Bring together judiciary, executive branch, lawmakers, and the community, and let's invest in what works. And we thank you for the opportunity to testify. And if you have any further questions, I'd be more than happy to respond. Mahalo.
Thank you very much. Up next, we have the Community Alliance on Prisons.
Good morning, Chair. Oh, whoops. Sorry about that.
We see you now. Good morning.
I need a 5-year-old. Good morning, Chair Ono, Vice Chair Ganadin, and members of the committee. Kat Brady testifying in strong support of this measure. I found it interesting that the department has said that the process has been transparent because they sent out a request for information. Information came back, but nobody really knows who submitted anything. So it is not transparent. And the community has already spent in excess of $10 million on this. So the governor is pushing a P3. We are really, really concerned about that because P3s, public-private partnerships, are touted as being cheaper, more efficient alternatives. But the real reason for privatization is the slow, forced march toward dismantling democratic control. Transparency is typically the first casualty of public-private partnerships. The secrecy is closely related to how privatization narrows control, dodges accountability, and all this undermines the cornerstone of democratic principle of separation of powers. The result is that contracts often trump legislation. Is this really where we want the state to go? That public resources will be privatized and then the public has no input into how things are going? Handing taxpayer-funded assets over to private sector? The entire process to build a humongous new jail has shut out the wisdom of the community. People who know nothing about the impacts of incarceration are working in secret to facilitate criminalizing some of the most vulnerable people in our community. Today's Civil Beat article about deaths in jails and prisons highlights the secretive process that the state continues to hide information. Every major think tank has encouraged community engagement. They know that when you build a big public health, public works project, you must involve the community. We know that the state has ignored the community, and it's because involving the community really involves a shift in focus. So is this shift in focus that the state really wants a punitive system, or do we want to really lift our people up? Data-driven and evidence-based practices present new opportunities for the public and social sector leaders to increase impact, good impact while reducing inefficiency. The state must avoid the temptation to act in a top-down manner. Instead, they should design and implement programs in ways that encourage community members directly in the work of social change. Democracy dies in the dark. Please pass 2516. Mahalo.
Thank you very much. Up next, we have the Hawaii Health and Harm Reduction Center.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and members. My name is Nikos Leverins, speaking on behalf of Hawaii Health and Harm Reduction Center. We're offering testimony in strong support of this measure. We find that the levels of squalor at OCCC and other jails and prisons in this state are unacceptable, and they do deserve some level of budgetary attention. They do deserve renovation. What is not needed at this point in time is a new jail or a new prison. If we want to attack or approach the problem of prison overcrowding, what we need to do is take a look at cash bail reform. We need to take a look at probation reform. Hawaii is very aberrant when it comes to state policy. It has the highest average term of probation in the nation at 59 months. That is more than 6 times the average term of probation in red state Kansas. So that's some food for thought. Another way to reduce jail and prison overcrowding is to stop the continued criminalization of under-resourced populations. Our friends at the ACLU of Hawaii wrote a wonderful report on the continued criminalization of our unsheltered homeless. And that should stop. We should stop the continued criminalization of our Native Hawaiian community. This is a very sordid legacy that goes back to territorial days where, this land's indigenous peoples have been made criminals in their own homeland. And one context where this is really the case is in the execution of our drug laws. Simple possession of any amount of drug, non-cannabis drug, results in a 5-year prison term and a $10,000 fine. That probation is used as a proxy for a prison term is not acceptable. Native Hawaiians do not use drugs at levels significantly different from other populations, but at every stage of the process, from arrest to post-release supervision, they are punished more disproportionately. And I think it's really testifies to the structural racism of this state's criminal legal system. This body declared structural racism a public health crisis last year, and we firmly concur with that. And we believe that the continued criminalization of Native Hawaiians, especially in the context of drugs, must be changed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The chair will quickly note it's 10:30 and we have a 10:30 a.m. agenda for decision making. But the intent was always to have that decision making happen at the end of this hearing. So we'll be voting on House Bill 1738, which is a holdover from a previous committee, at the end of our decision making on this current 10 a.m. agenda. We're going to continue. We have testimony from Common Cause Hawaii in support. Ohana Ho'opakele in support. Pono Hawaii Initiative in support. FACE in support. The Hawaii Alliance for Progressive Action, support. Malu Aina, support. Testimony from OHA, support. We have 45 individuals supporting this measure, 2 others opposing in the further testimony. A number of them are here with us. First up, we'll start off with Mr. Robert Merce. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair Ono and Vice Chair Gannon and members of the committee. My name is Bob Merce. I'm a retired lawyer. I served as the Vice Chair of the House Concurrent Resolution 85 Task Force in 2017 and 2018. And on that task force, I chaired the subcommittee that was tasked with making recommendations to the legislature on the design and cost of all future correctional facilities. We took a deep dive into looking at the new jail. And we wrote a report and made a recommendation to the legislature in 2019, which was, and I quote, this is from Justice Wilson's forward to our report, we should immediately stop the costly planning of a huge new jail and form a collaborative working group of stakeholders and government officials to plan and design a jail that is smaller, smarter, and less expensive than the one now under consideration. That is what we should do and is exactly what House Bill 2516 would do. The Hawaii Correctional Oversight Commission, which has among its members over 100 years of cumulative experience in correctional matters and are looking at the problems with our criminal justice system, it made the exact same recommendation. Take a step back, rethink what we're doing, and that's what we need to do. Jurisdictions all across the country are trying to find ways to build smaller jails if they need them because their facilities are old. We are going in the opposite direction and going from a jail with 954 capacity, operational capacity, to one with 1,300 capacity. It will cost us over $1 billion to build this new facility, which has been badly planned, I should add, and not transparently planned. And what that means in practical terms, if the new jail was up today and we had 1,300 people in it, and it will fill to capacity, you can be assured of that, it will cost us $285,000 a day to house the 1,300 people. And as time goes on, that amount is going to go up because of inflation, and we simply can't afford a big jail. The way we need to proceed is to build a smaller jail and decarcerate, as Carrie Shirota from ACLU recommended. So I strongly support this bill, and I hope you will listen to the community, to the HCR 85 Task Force, to the Hawaii Correctional Oversight Commission, to the ACLU, and to all the people who have really looked into this. And take a step back, pause, and let's come up with a better plan for a jail. We can do this. This community has the wisdom to do this. And I know we will succeed and design a better jail than the one the department has, because for one simple reason, we care about the people who are going to be in that jail. We care about them, and we can, if you give us a chance, design and make recommendations on a much better jail. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have testimony from Devon Ward. Testimony from Barbara Polk. Peter Kulo George.
Yes, I'm here.
Good morning.
Morning. Thank you for allowing me to testify this morning. I, for some reason, can't get my video started. But you will just have to believe that I am indeed here. I am a resident and representative Kobayashi's district. I'm speaking today in support of HB 2516 with an amendment to be added for a 5-year moratorium on the planning and development of any new carceral facilities in Hawaii. My understanding is that the members of this body are focused on taking practical measures to keep Hawaii safe within the context of reasonable budgetary restraints, which I don't believe building a new prison meets either of those qualifying points. My first point would be that prisons aren't going to keep us safe. They're not the solution we need. Yeah, I know that the co-host just asked me to start my video. I am trying, but there seems to be a technical error. In any case, If we build a new prison, it's only going to set back members of our community who face the most significant social and economic challenges, when offering support would be far more effective, just, and humane. It's also going to skew towards punishing our Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander communities, furthering the racial oppression imposed by the state government. We need new evidence-based strategies for making our system less punitive. But fortunately, there are a number of important first steps that we can start taking beginning this year. For starters, we can end cash bail for the majority of accused citizens who are only in prison because they can't afford bail. We can end incarceration for technical violations of probation and parole, among a number of other, well-evidenced practices to decarcerate, our state. So the point being, we have every reason to reject incarceration as a catch-all tool, and now is the time to invest in alternative strategies that are more practical and align with the rest of the world, where our peer nations have incarceration rates that are dwarfed by ours. A moratorium on new jails and prisons will give us the time to implement new policies and end our, addiction to incarceration. And the last point requires less elaboration, because building a new jail is not anywhere close to reasonable from a budgetary perspective, not when those funds are desperately needed to support our most vulnerable communities, and especially given both the fixed cost of over $1 billion to create and the marginal cost of operation. It just doesn't make any sense. And there's no reason to think that it has to happen. We need to be smart about this. So, if we're concerned with crime, then let's spend money on solutions that get to the root causes, which are struggle, scarcity, poverty, and oppression. So thank you for letting me speak, and I'm sorry for the video not working.
Not a problem. Thank you very much. We have testimony from Carolyn Eaton.
Hello. Aloha, Chair Ono, Vice Chair Ganadin. I thought I did start my video.
We see you now. Good morning.
Okay. Good morning. I have written a very passionate, but rather on the long side testimony. I will shorten it because I'm so taken with the expressions already voiced so strongly in support, especially from the ACLU and the Hawaii Harm Reduction person. The Criminal Justice Reform Committee this bill proposes for guiding the new open process will center reform. Locating, planning, and financing a major facility will follow. This committee has the choice to turn away from the prison plan behind a curtain. Thank you for allowing my voice to reach you.
Thank you very much. That's all the testimony I have for House Bill 2516. Is there anyone else here wishing to testify on House Bill 2516? If you are, why don't you turn your video on and introduce yourself. Okay, members, questions, House Bill 2516. Vice Chair.
To Chair of the Oversight Commission, Warden Mark Patterson. Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you update the committee on the status of the staffing of the Oversight Commission?
Currently, in December of 2021, the commission had submitted a recommendation, 3 names to the governor's office for selection for our executive director, oversight coordinator. That's where we stand at this point. We haven't heard back at this time.
And you folks serve in a voluntary capacity, but you continue to testify before the legislature, but you still have statutory duties. Is that correct?
Yes.
So in fulfillment of those statutory duties, you continue to have meetings subject to the Sunshine Law, and with the input of community members and with the independent research of individuals like Mr. Merce, correct?
We are still holding our public meetings by Zoom since the pandemic and the emergency proclamations went into effect in 2020. That is attended, probably 30, 40 of the public attend. on a monthly basis.
Say that number again. Say that number again. How many people
30
show
and
up?
40 actively attend our meetings from the
And-
public. Yeah.
And I assume many of the same concerns that were raised here in regards to HB 2516 were raised at your meetings.
Yes, it's a constant conversation in terms of regarding what's happening with the building of the jail and its purpose. Yes.
And because everybody currently on the commission is a former state employee, and some of them were actually directors or deputy directors of the Department of Public Safety, you folks have visited numerous facilities throughout the state and the private facilities on the continent, correct?
During their careers, yes. We haven't done any visiting since we were formed as a commission and due to the pandemic.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Members, further questions? 2516. Okay, the chair has a very good question. Mr. Patterson, thank you for your service and thanks for your help on all of this. When was your last meeting?
Oh, I believe it was February. No, it wasn't. I want to say January, right before. I'm sorry, I need the calendar.
It's just, you can just tell me the month. It's okay. January?
It was last month, about
Okay.
a week, 2 weeks ago. We talked about the legislative bills.
That's sufficient. Was Deputy Director Tommy Johnson there?
Yes.
And was the consultant from the proposed prisons also in attendance?
I'm not sure if that individual was present. You have a whole bunch of names like you see in front of you right now. I don't know all of them and I might not recognize it, but he may have or may have not. Yes.
How about Director Otani? Was Director Otani present?
They have been present at every meeting.
Deputy Director Johnson and Director Otani have been present at every meeting. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Members, further questions? Okay. If not, we're going to take a 60-second recess for decision making. Recess. Okay, good morning, everybody. We're back here for the purpose of decision-making on our 10 a.m. agenda. We'll follow up with our decision-making on our 10:30 a.m. agenda. First up, we have House Bill 2117. This was relating to the Hawaii Code of Military Justice. Once again, 173 pages. We are going to take the amendment suggested by the judiciary, which is a very small amendment. We'll defect the date to July 1st, 3000, and add technical and non-substantive amendments to this bill. Members, any questions? 2117. Okay, Vice Chair with amendments.
Members, the recommendation of the chair is to pass House Bill 2117 with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Representative Bronco. Come back. Representative Kobayashi.
Aye.
Representative Kong.
Aye.
Representative Morikawa.
Aye.
Representative Tarnas.
Aye.
Representative McDermott is excused. Going back, Representative Bronco.
Rep Bronco, how do you vote on House Bill 2117?
Aye.
Thank you.
Good choice.
I apologize.
The recommendation, Chair, is adopted.
Thank you, members. House Bill 2118, relating to cybersecurity. We'll defect the date July 1st, 3000, and technical amendments. Members, questions, comments? House Bill 2118. Okay, Vice Chair with amendments.
Members, the recommendation of the chair is to pass House Bill 2118 with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye, noting the excusal of Representative McDermott. Are there any members voting with reservations? Are there any members voting no? Chair, the recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. House Bill 426, this is tuition waivers. We will take the suggestion from the Attorney General. We're going to clarify in this bill that this measure is identified as an issue of statewide concern. We'll defect the date to July 1st, 3000. Members, questions, comments? 426. Vice Rep Kobayashi.
I think that maybe, could I suggest committee report contains some instructions to the next committee, higher education, to address the question of financial need and eligibility. One testifier talked about no age limit and no degree limit.
We shall. Thank you. That'll be noted. That'll be added to the committee report for the higher ed committee to consider in the future. Thank you for the suggestion. Further questions, comments? 426. Okay, Vice Chair with amendments.
Members, the recommendation of the chair is to pass House Bill 426 with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Are there any members voting with reservations? Are there any members voting no? Noting the excusal of Representative McDermott, Chair, the recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. House Bill 2516, the chair's recommendation is going to be to pass this out with amendments. I'm going to turn it over to the Vice Chair for some comments on House Bill 2516.
Firstly, thank you, Chair, for the opportunity to discuss this measure. For all those who have testified, the issue of the replacement of the Oahu Community Correctional Center has come before the legislature several times over the last several years. It's clear, based on the testimony of the department and several members of the state, several departments of the state, that we need to replace the Oahu Community Correctional Center. This is a replacement, not the building of a new jail. This is an extremely costly endeavor for the state. Just last week, there was an attack on ACOs at the Oahu Community Correctional Center, which we should take quite seriously. No employee should be coming to work and facing those kinds of dangers. We might not if we pause or engage in a full moratorium of the development of a new OCCC, the state might not be able to engage in this process for many years to come. That said, there have been movements across the United States which have halted the development of new facilities, including in the Bronx, New York, San Francisco, Los Angeles, California. In those places, crime has gone down. We have now in the state of Hawaii an Oversight Commission, Hawaii Criminal Research Institute, and those have not yet fully been involved in the development of policy. I believe here through the development of this new facility. There are numerous bills currently moving through the legislature, years in the making, regarding bail and parole reform, increasing to alternatives and just alternative programming, alternatives for pretrial and post-conviction programs, which must be funded. The task force on HCR 85 in 2019 was clear, and in the development of the commission, they should be including the voices of not only the department, but the community. And we are so grateful for the continued involvement of the Oversight Commission and their transparency in discussing these matters with the community. The amendment would involve the Oversight Commission in the development of a new facility. If the community and the Oversight Commission wishes to have a 5-year moratorium, avoid a public-private partnership, then that should be discussed more transparently and in collaboration with the department. We hope that all parties continue to work together to provide for public safety for our entire community. And in response to individuals saying we shouldn't be paying for a new jail. In a democracy, we pay for things like schools and fire departments, and because there's free choice, we pay for jails and prisons as well. So with that in mind, Chair, thank you so much for this amendment and for members of the committee in discussing this and moving it forward.
Thank you, Vice Chair. So to further clarify accordingly, we will make a couple changes to this bill. The first is that we're going to strike the creation of that new commission that's in the bill. And instead, we're just going to simply ask the current commission, the Hawaii Correctional Systems Oversight Commission, to participate as a full partner in the planning, design, and construction process for the steps outlined on page 5, line 17, all the way through page 6, line 11. We'll appropriate funds for that work for the commission. We'll defect the date to July 1st, 3000, and make technical, non-substantive amendments. Oh, and that's right. And we're going to make one other change, thanks to some of the testimony we received. On page 6, we're going to strike paragraph 5. And we fear that the inclusion of that paragraph would negatively impact the current work on some of the women's community correctional center, which was by no means in the intent of this bill. Okay, members, questions, comments, 2516. Yep, defect date July 1st, 3000, and we'll do technical non-substantive amendments. Oh, Rep. Kong.
I understand our goal on this bill and what we're trying to do, but most of us have been part of HCR 85 already, and you know, we all been to that jail. If we don't move forward and we wait some years, wow, I just feel sorry for all those that are incarcerated, period. So I believe that we actually should move forward with, you know, everybody involved, of course, right? We want to hear all the players, but if we don't move forward now, I mean, how much more planning do we actually need? It kind of confuses me. So I will be voting with reservations. Thank you, Chair.
Understood. Thank you, Rep. Kong. Further questions, comments? Kobayashi, Rep. Kobayashi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have some reservations along the line of what Representative Kong said, that the current OCCC is certainly dilapidated and obviously needs changing. But I think that the bigger question of what exactly comes to replace or succeed OCCC is a bigger question. My support for this bill largely rests upon knowing a little bit about the members of the Oversight Commission, the Corrections Oversight Commission. I mean, this is really quite a blue ribbon oversight commission with easily 100 years of experience amongst just 3 of the members. I won't tell you which 3, but I believe that just 3 of them by themselves. I would note that the Oversight Commission has 3 of its 5 members who were long-time corrections, public safety employees in the state of Hawaii. And the 2 remaining members of the Oversight Commission are both retired judges. So you have 5 people on the Oversight Commission with excellent credentials who probably know more about corrections than we will ever know in our lifetimes. And so knowing a little bit about them and their long experience, I would say I would be in favor of whatever they recommend. Thank you.
Okay. Reservations, however, you mentioned, Rep. Kobayashi.
No, I will be voting without reservations.
Okay,
I mean,
understood.
I will be voting free and clear, yes.
Okay, thank you. Members, any further questions? 2516. Okay, Vice Chair, with amendments, 2516.
Too much. Members, the recommendation of the chair is to pass House Bill 2516 with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Noting the reservations of Representative Kong, the excusal of Representative McDermott, are there any other members voting with reservations? Are there any members voting no? Chair, the measure passes.
Thank you, members. We are adjourned with this decision-making, but we're moving on to the 10:30 a.m. decision-making. And this was a bill that we heard a week ago. It's House Bill 1738, and this had to deal with confinement. After given some time to reconsider some of this language in the bill, the chair has a few amendments. For those folks who are here in the room, I believe we passed out a hard copy of this bill. And if you're not in the room, we emailed you a copy of this, of the amendments beforehand. Let me go through the amendments very quickly. Essentially, what I want is to define and provide a floor to what confinement of those prisoners is. I'd like that to go into effect at the start of 2023. There's a lot of other language in this bill that would provide redress for those folks who are in confinement. I'd like for that to go into effect January 1st, 2024. Specifically, page 2, subsections A, B, and C will go into effect January 1st, 2023. Page 11, subsections A, B, and C will also go into effect January 1st, 2023. And page 16, subsections A and B will go into effect January 1st, 2023. All other sections will go into effect January 1st, 2024. We have a number of other small amendments on page 12. We'll update subsection E to specify that one or more of the acts that qualify an inmate for disciplinary confinement would have to occur within the immediately preceding 1-year period while incarcerated. Page 4, subsection D, will clarify that the hearing by the committee shall happen within 10 days of written notice, unless the director certifies the imminent threat to the facility. Page 5, line 4 will add that the hearings are conducted pursuant to subsection D as well as E. Page 6, line 2, again, will add that the hearings are conducted pursuant to subsection D as well E. Page 7, line 16 will strike the phrase, quote, shall mandate no more than 1 year of long-term confinement. And that's end quote. And that's because maximum determination situations are discussed on page 10. They were in conflict with this section. Page 17 will add the same language that exists in the long-term confinement and disciplinary confinement about the director's discretion to certify in writing that the hearing will pose an imminent threat to subsection E. We'll add that the reporting and review requirement on page 18 will go into effect on July 1st, 2022. Section 3, which extends our health care and safety standards to inmates in out-of-state facilities, will go into effect August 1st, 2024. My understanding is that our current contract with our large out-of-state facility ends in July of 2024. So this section that will impact out-of-state facilities will go into effect August 1st, 2024. Defect date, July 1st, 3000. Technical non-substantive amendments as well. Okay. Members, with your indulgence, before we vote, over the interim, I've received a number of letters from inmates who are incarcerated and have a lot of candid, personal, human stories. That's a big reason why we're hearing this bill. I just have two very short quotes I'd like to share from two letters we got about this issue. First quote, imagine being stuck in an elevator for years on end, screaming for help, and your screams go unanswered, and you continuously get ignored. How do you think you will come out? End quote. I have one more from a letter I received. Quote, is aloha when you lock us in the cell the size of a parking stall for years on end with no form of rehabilitation or job skills, people skills, or life skills, end quote. We all know every story has two sides, but these quotes and these letters did affect me. And I thank those writers, those authors who sent them to me over the interim. And we're happy to put this bill up for a vote today. So House Bill 1738 with amendments.
Members, the recommendation of the chair is to pass House Bill 1738 with amendments. The recommendation, the chair and vice chair will be voting aye. Are there any members voting with reservations? Are there any members voting no? Chair, the recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. We are adjourned.